Let's take a moment to reflect on the narratives that shape our understanding of human nature. You've likely encountered the popular belief that humans are inherently power-hungry, blindly obedient, and indifferent to suffering. But what if I told you that some of the most famous psychology studies that supposedly prove these traits might not be as straightforward as they seem? What if they were manipulated to fit a certain narrative? We're diving into some landmark experiments that have profoundly influenced our perception of ourselves. But here's the twist. Perhaps we've misinterpreted their findings. Let's start with one of the most notorious studies in psychology, the Stanford Prison Experiment. Imagine this. It's 1971, and college students are divided into two groups, guards and prisoners, in a makeshift prison set up in the basement of Stanford University. What unfolded over the course of just 6 days was nothing short of shocking. The guards began to exhibit sadistic behaviors, while the prisoners became submissive and emotionally distressed. The experiment was terminated early, leading to the conclusion that power corrupts anyone who wields it. But is that the complete picture? Rutger Bregman, author of Humankind: A Hopeful History, challenges this narrative. He argues that the guards didn't simply unleash their inner tyrants. Rather, the experiment's lead researcher, Philip Zimbardo, was actively guiding their behavior. Zimbardo, in his role as the prison superintendent, provided subtle cues and encouragement that shaped the guards' actions. This raises critical questions. Was the experiment a genuine exploration of human nature, or was it a staged performance directed by Zimbardo himself to illustrate a predetermined story? Consider this. The experiment was not just influenced, it was orchestrated. When we look closely, the sweeping claims about human nature, that we readily succumb to tyranny, begin to falter. Perhaps what we glean from this study isn't a reflection of our inherent nature, but rather a commentary on the narrative Zimbardo sought to create. Now let's shift our focus to another landmark study, the Milgram Obedience Experiment. This infamous experiment took place in 1961 and involved a setup where participants were instructed to administer electric shocks to a learner in another room whenever they answered a question incorrectly. The shocks increased in intensity with each mistake, and although the learner was actually an actor and not truly being harmed, the participants believed they were inflicting real pain. As the voltage escalated, the learner would scream, plead, and eventually fall silent. Shockingly, many participants continued to deliver shocks despite the apparent suffering. The prevailing takeaway from this experiment was that people will obey authority figures regardless of the consequences. It became a cautionary tale about our capacity to become complicit in cruelty. However, what often gets overlooked is that not all participants complied. Many expressed discomfort, hesitated, and even refused to continue the experiment. Yet these dissenting voices are rarely highlighted in discussions about Milgram's work. Bregman argues that the narrative we've embraced, that humans are mindless followers, is overly simplistic. While some individuals did comply, a significant portion exhibited empathy, guilt, and moral conflict. The reality of human behavior is far more nuanced than the dramatic compliance that Milgram chose to emphasize. The sensational nature of the findings captured public attention, but it also obscured a more complex truth. We are conflicted beings, grappling with our conscience in the face of authority. So, what does all of this imply? Are we to dismiss science as flawed or the studies as irrelevant? Absolutely not. Science remains a vital tool for understanding ourselves and the world around us. However, it's essential to recognize that science is conducted by people, and people are influenced by their biases, motives, and the narratives they wish to convey. The real challenge lies in asking better questions. Who is telling the story? What perspectives are being left out? Are we seeing the complete picture or merely the most sensationalized version? Bregman's analysis of these iconic studies serves as a reminder that humanity may not be as dark as these experiments suggest. Perhaps we are more complex, more empathetic, and more hopeful than we've been led to believe. However, it's crucial not to swing to the opposite extreme and blindly accept a narrative of unbounded goodness. Instead, we must strive for balance, viewing science with both trust and a critical eye. Additionally, let's consider another dimension to understanding ourselves: What if science isn't the only lens through which we can explore human nature? What if there's space for introspection, spirituality, or philosophical inquiry, not as rigid beliefs, but as avenues for recognizing the goodness that resides within us? While data and research guide us, a touch of faith in our better natures can be a powerful complement to empirical findings. As we continue to learn and question, let's embrace a mindset that blends curiosity with optimism, and perhaps even a hint of spirituality, not tethered to dogma, but grounded in a belief in our potential. The truth about human nature is intricate and multifaceted, deserving of our exploration and understanding. In conclusion, the narratives we've accepted about ourselves are often shaped by the stories we tell. The studies that have influenced our perceptions of human nature are not infallible. They are products of their time, their creators, and their contexts. As we move forward, let's commit to questioning the narratives we encounter, seeking out diverse perspectives, and remaining hopeful about our capacity for empathy and goodness. The journey to uncover the truth about ourselves is not simple, but it is undoubtedly worth the pursuit. If we approach it with an open mind and a willingness to explore the complexities of human nature, we may find that we are far better than science has sometimes suggested.